Hey, how's it going? I'm IlaGolden and welcome to Ila Reads.
So what's this good news you have for us, X? Nia shot her an expectant look as he finished laying out their last picnic of the year. I'm going to be playing Chancellor in Liz's production of The Next Heartbeat. Her heart was beating hard, in a mixture of excitement and fear. She had no idea how they were going to react. Well, it's about time, X. Nia gave her a congratulatory hug, much to Clear's clear displeasure. You've been wanting to get up on the stage, like, forever, or at least it was all you talked about when we were kids, he laughed. I guess you haven't mentioned it recently. Well, you know I would never have dared whilst he was still around. He barely tolerated my position behind the scenes as it was. But since his death, I've just been waiting for the right opportunity. So you're going to be on stage like Grandma Sweet and Grandpatch Moores? Piccolo looked doubtful. Yeah, I am, she grinned. And there will be days when you and Synth can come see me rehearse rather than just my actors. Is that why you were talking about the school stuff? She folded her arms. It's part of the reason, Pico, she admitted. And to be honest, I only really thought about it after Miss Fairchild suggested a little after-school socialising might be good for Synth. I happen to agree with your murmur on this one. Claire's face filled with one of her smiles you could never quite tell if it was faked, forced, or genuine. I made some of my closest friends at after-school activities. Plus, the clubhouse your parents have been looking at offers a large variety of things you could try. I know your brother will probably only do the art-related bits, but that doesn't mean you have to. That's true, she relented slightly. I was looking at some of the dance classes they have on offer. Her eyes turned almost pleadingly towards Echoe. Lacey and Bo were about my age when they started dancing, and now they're at Sutton School for Dance and will probably be world-famous dancers when they're older. Sounds great to me, Pico. Nia grinned at her. And what does my synth boy think about his murmur being an actor? He tickled his son. Synth responded with a squeal of giggles before wriggling away, getting to his feet and running. Nia also got to his feet and began playfully chasing after him. For a moment, Echoe just allowed herself to enjoy the scene. But then Cleo had to go and ruin it all by reminding Echoe she existed. You know, I've heard rumours Sonato was also auditioning for a role in The Next Heartbeat. Any truth to it? Yeah. Sunny will be playing Anita. Echoe pressed her lips together. Mama, Auntie Sonato doesn't like it when you call her Sunny. Piccolo shot her a look. I'm sorry, Pico, but it's very hard to break a habit of a lifetime. She did her best not to roll her eyes. So it looks like Sonata will be following her murmur's footsteps, setting a record as the youngest actor to play the role of Anita. Cleo sounded impressed. Was Grandma Sweet the youngest to play her before? Piccolo frowned. The oldest, actually. Echo jumped in before Cleo could. She already had me, but Sunny wasn't around yet. She'll also be the third sweet charm to play the role. The matter-of-fact tone in Cleo's voice set Echo's teeth on edge. Actually, she'll be the second. Echo tried to keep her voice calm and level. My grandma wasn't a sweet charm when the role was written for her. In fact, it wasn't until after the initial run she even met the great Alonzo. The role of Anita was written for her? Piccolo's eyes went wide with wonder. She was 19, and a rising star when Clancy Rush met her. Echo felt an air of romanticism move through her as she repeated the story her murmur had told her many times. At the time, of course, Echo Andrews was only known for her singing. Even at the tender age of 5, they say she had the voice of an angel. Is that why The Next Heartbeat is about death? For once her daughter was hanging on her every word. So they say. A secretive smile filled her face. And when the show was entering its third production run, with Echo Andrews still in the lead role, of course, Alonzo Sweetcharm was cast as Buick. I'm told he was in love with her from the moment they met, but she was still very much involved with Clancy. Not that it put Alonzo off much. He pursued her relentlessly until he won her over. That was the last time Echo Andrews would play Anita. The next time The Next Heartbeat was put on, another woman was in the lead role. What happened to Clancy? Piccolo stared at her. Was he angry at Great Grandpatch for stealing his love? He disappeared for a number of years, and a lot of people thought he would never write again. But he found himself a new muse, followed by several more if his reputation is to be believed, and they say he married each one before writing her into a lead role. She laughed. So he had a lot of wives all at the same time? No, Pico, of course not. That wouldn't be allowed. I suspect he divorced the previous one first. So you can get married again after divorce, she pulled her face. I don't think some of my friends would like that idea much. I don't understand, Cleo interjected before the conversation could continue further. I was always told Echo Sweetchum was the first actor to play Anita. That's because of the great Alonzo too. Echo sighed and rolled her eyes. When my murmur was cast into the leading role, he made a big deal about how she was the second Sweetcharm to be cast as Anita. I remember my mama wasn't too happy about that. My grandma had never performed under the name Sweet Charm, but after her death, Lonzo did his best to rewrite the story. He'd never liked the fact she'd once been involved with Clancy, or the fact that she hadn't changed her professional name after they married. From what Nia told me about him, it sounds like something he would do. Cleo lowered her gaze. It sounds like he was a controlling tyrant. He was a controlling tyrant, she sighed. But he was also an amazing performer, no matter how much I wish he wasn't. I think sometimes if he was a terrible performer, then I could hate him without any reservations. But it's hard to hate and respect someone in the same breath. I can't even begin to imagine what that must feel like. Well, no family's perfect, she shrugged. I'm sure yours has plenty of its own skeletons. Cleo pressed her lips together and raised her eyebrows in an odd expression, but said nothing. There was something about her reaction which made Echo feel as though she'd put her foot in it somehow, but she couldn't quite be sure how or why. Fortunately for her, the awkwardness was quickly broken by the arrival of Nia and Synth, finally done with their game of tickle chase. I think it's about time we start eating, don't you? Nia grinned, already reaching for the food. Sounds good to me. Echo telekinetically began filling her own plate with some of their goodies. So, Echo, Cleo began nibbling on the edge of a sandwich. Have you given any more thought to Nia's suggestion? What suggestion? She frowned back. About us having the kids sleep over. Instantly Piccolo and Synth's heads perked curiously. With everything else that had been going on, Echo hadn't gotten round to speaking to them yet. Well, I thought now would be the best time to talk about it, she bluffed. That way everyone will get their say and know what's going on. That sounds like a good idea to me. Cleo's eyes sparkled as though she knew she'd landed Echo in it somehow. Don't you agree, Nick? Yeah, it does, he grinned, completely oblivious to any subtext. So kids, he addressed them. What do you think about a sleepover with me and Cleo? Okay, everyone, places please. This is the first number of the show, so let's give it a little more oomph this time. Lilith's voice rang out across the rehearsal hall. Echo remained where she was. She and the other members of the crew would eventually be harnessed up for a more aerial position over the stage, which meant whilst everyone else returned to their starting marks, the four of them remained roughly where they would be hanging over the stage, feeling more than a little in the way. Still, as the initial swell of choral ahhing started around her, she found herself with no time to dwell on it. The way Lilith was staging it, the crew would sing the first choral verse as a quartet, with the rest of the chorus joining in on subsequent repeats. Take a bow, it's the end of your life. Their four voices were already harmonizing relatively well together. Show us sorry, are you from inside? Take a bow, it's the end of your life. Don't pretend it's just the end of your. Don't see this, can't hear this, don't believe this now. Sonata began singing her refrain. Can't hear this, don't see this, won't believe this now. As Sonata finished, Echo and the other members of the crew, this time joined by select choral members slowly making their way onto the stage, repeated their choral verse. Not for the first time that day, Echo couldn't help but think how much like their grandma Sonata sounded. Echo Andrews might have died before her namesake was born, but she left behind a vast array of sound recordings from various stages of her career. It was a different kind of voice to the one Echo shared with her mama. When they sang, their voices were comparable to flutes, but when Echo Andrews sang, she sounded like a sweet clarinet, and so did Sonata, or at least that's how her patch had always described it. Just as Sonata was launching into her second refrain, there was a strange, almost twanging-like sound above Echo, followed quickly by a whirling rush. She looked up just in time to see a sandbag rushing towards her. Instinctively, Echo lifted her hands up to telekinetically control its descent to avoid hitting her, but as she did, a web of earth and vines and moss formed above her. She used the curve of it to help her guide the sandbag, which crashed into the floor to the right of her. The whole thing had been over in an instant, but her heart felt as though it would never stop pounding. Echo, darling, are you all right? Lilith rushed towards her as the web disappeared from above. Yeah, I'm fine, she forced a smile on her face. I guess some of the old rigging must have come loose. I'll have some polite techies look at it, she said. I'm just glad you're all right. And I want to thank the hero of the hour. She glanced round at her cast. Come on, who was it who created that webbing? Don't be shy now. For a long couple of moments there was silence. Then Zanny shuffled nervously. Xander, darling, of course it was you. Liz didn't even give him a chance to finish what he was saying. You were the closest Gary user to her at the time, so it's only natural you'd be the one to save her. No, he tried to protest, but Liz just waved a dismissive hand at him. There's no need to be so modest, darling. None of this right place, right time nonsense. You were the one who reacted fast enough to save Echoe. Well, help save her at any rate. I've no doubt some of that emotion was telekinetic, she laughed. Now, drama over, it's time we get back to rehearsing. Places, people. Bigger, from the top if you don't mind. And with that she swanned her way back off stage. Edgely Echoe glanced towards the sandbag still on stage next to her. It felt so strangely innocent now, but just the thought it might have hit her, she shuddered. Before she could give it any more thought, the music had reached the first choral verse. She somehow managed to sing her way through it, but the second sonata's refrain began, her head filled with the only one thought. The Garo web had been identical to the one which had saved her from the car. Whoever was responsible for one had to be responsible for the other. But could that person really be Zanny? Somehow she didn't think so. As the song continued, she found her eyes drifting out towards the audience. The Gary user didn't have to be powerful to get that barrier to work from there, just precise. But if he or she was out there, did it mean she had a stalker? She couldn't help but think of the glimpses she'd caught, or thought she'd caught, of Twigs recently. Was it really possible for her to be stalking Echoe? And not just stalking her, saving her, twice. She wasn't sure. She wasn't even sure how comfortable she was with any of these thoughts. But she did know they were thoughts she couldn't just ignore. She'd almost made up her mind to confront Twigs about it when her eyes hit upon a strange, wobbly distortion at the back of the seating area. At first she thought it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. Then the distortion moved as though it realized it was being watched, and her heart almost skipped a beat. All right, that's a lot better. Liz Worth broke through almost as soon as the song had finished, startling Echoe a little. We'll break for lunch now, and then we'll start walking through Who Wants to Be Living Anyway and Ballad of the Lonely this afternoon. As soon as she'd finished speaking, everyone began pouring off stage. Sighing more than a little, Echoe made her way towards the wings for a more scenic route. Hey, can I speak to you? Zanny appeared beside her. Sure, if you don't mind talking and walking, she smiled at him. We only have an hour to lunch, and yeah, right, he gave a nervous little laugh. So what did you want to talk about? Echoe prompted. It's about the Garo web which saved you earlier. I know you weren't the one who created it, don't worry. How? Because I've seen that cell of Garo web before. Her face pulled into a thoughtful frown. So you know who created it? He sounded hopeful. No, she sighed. No, I don't. I mean, I thought maybe I did, but now I'm not so sure. Oh? It really doesn't matter, she shook her head dismissively. It matters to me, Zanny tensed. Why? Because, he hesitated, because I don't want people thinking I did something I didn't actually do. It's dishonest. And you're all about the honesty? She wasn't sure if she should laugh or play it serious. Look, I know it might sound a little silly, he scratched the back of his head, but I don't want to be praised for something I didn't actually do because it's meaningless. I can respect that, she nodded, as they started making their way back towards the practice stage. So, do you want me to talk to Lilith then? Talk to Miss Triumph? He sounded nervous again. Well, yeah, I'd rather she knew the truth, and, well, you're her friend, so it'd be easier for you to do it than me, right? I mean, not that I wouldn't do it myself, I just, you know. Yeah, I know, it's okay. I'm more than happy to talk to her for you. I kind of wanted to ask her opinion about it all anyway. Because it happened before, you mean? The Garo web? Yeah, she nodded. I think I might have a stalker, she couldn't help but joke. Really? By now they were entering the seating area of the practice hall. Maybe, she shrugged. But I guess it's something I'd like a second opinion about, and I don't know any better second opinion than Liz Triumph's. I understand. He nodded before pressing his lips together thoughtfully. He looked as though he was about to say something else, but before he could, two things happened in close succession. The first was May screaming their names at the top of her voice from the area she'd clearly reserved for them to eat in. The second was the appearance of Jet from behind them. Hey! Jet's eyes appeared to linger on Echoe for a moment. Hey! Zanny frowned at him. Were you following us? Of course not. I just went to grab my lunch from the car. He held up a smart-looking lunchbox. Forgot to bring it in with me this morning. Why? His face filled with a deliciously inviting smile. Were you hoping I was following you? Before Zanny could finish whatever it was he was about to say, May called out to them again. I guess one of us better get to her before she blows a gasket. He gave a nervous laugh, before carefully clambering over the chairs in a makeshift shortcut. So were you thanking the hero of the hour? Jet's voice was almost too casual, as he gestured for her to go on ahead of him. Actually, we were acknowledging the fact he wasn't. She gave a nervous laugh of her own, remaining in place for a lingering moment. Really? He cocked an eyebrow. Well, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't think he was. Not that I didn't think he would or could have saved you. It's just, well, the web itself. I've never seen anything like it before. I'm not sure it was a real Gara technique. Are you sure? 100% sure? No, he shook his head. There's no way I could be. I mean, it's not like I spent my life studying every magical technique under the sun or whatever it is wannabe balancers do when they're in training. But I know what I felt when I saw that webbing. It wasn't Gara. What else would it have been? Echo frowned. I don't know. Jet gave a heavy sigh as he took hold of the handles of her chair. But something doesn't feel right about this whole situation. I mean, I know we barely know each other, and I'm probably risking coming off like some kind of creep right now. But until you find out who's created that webbing, I'd be really careful, Echo. I have a bad feeling in my stomach I can't shake, and I really don't want to see you, or anyone, get hurt. Enjoyed what you've heard so far? Please consider subscribing to find out when the next part's being released. Thanks for watching. See ya!